I'll be straight with you. When a woman starts pulling away, those first 48 hours decide everything. And most men? They ruin it in the first few minutes. They panic, they chase, they send long messages, they beg for clarity. They do everything except the one thing that actually works. And that's why women keep slipping away from them. Here's the truth most men don't hear. When a woman pulls back, it's not always because she's done with you. Sometimes she's testing you, sometimes she's protecting her emotions, and sometimes she just wants to see how much control she really has. What she does in that moment matters, but what you do matters even more. And this is where men usually fail, because they don't understand how women think when they pull away. See, the instinct for most guys is to close the gap. She stops texting, and he doubles his texts. She gets distant, and he calls more. She withdraws, and he pushes harder. But to a woman, that doesn't feel reassuring. It feels smothering. It feels like he's trying to force a connection instead of letting her feel it naturally. That's why she runs further. The first 48 hours are not about chasing her back. They're about showing strength, composure, and emotional control. A woman feels it instantly when a man doesn't panic, when he doesn't let her pullback shake him. That's what makes her curious. That's what makes her rethink. That's what makes her come back closer instead of running further. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do in those first 48 hours when she pulls away. From a woman's perspective, I'll show you what's actually going through her mind, why your reactions matter so much, and the exact steps that separate the men women respect from the men women forget. 1. Why her pullback isn't always what you think. When a woman starts pulling away, most men immediately assume the worst. She's done with me, or she's lost interest completely. And while yes, sometimes that's true, it's not always the case. In fact, a lot of the time, her pulling back has less to do with you and more to do with her emotions, her fears, and her need for space. But here's the catch. How you interpret her pullback will determine whether things end permanently or whether she comes closer again. Here's what men don't understand. Women rarely pull away in a straight line. It's not always about breaking up. Sometimes it's about seeing how you handle distance. Sometimes it's about her battling her own doubts. And sometimes it's just because she feels the pace of the relationship is moving too fast and she needs a moment to breathe. If you assume her distance equals rejection, you'll overreact. And that overreaction is what actually pushes her further away. A woman can pull back for many reasons. Maybe she feels you're becoming too available, and she's testing whether you'll maintain your independence. Maybe she's comparing the energy you give now to the energy you gave at the start. Maybe she's had a past experience where she got hurt by trusting too fast, so now she slows things down on purpose. Or maybe she just wants to see if your interest is strong enough to withstand her unpredictability. What matters most isn't the reason she pulled back. It's your response. If you panic, you confirm her fear that you're too dependent on her for validation. If you chase, you show her she has total control. If you beg for reassurance, you kill the very attraction she once felt. But if you don't panic, if you stay calm, if you give her space without bitterness or drama, you flip the entire situation. You show her something most men can't: emotional strength. And let me tell you, as a woman, strength is always more attractive than neediness. So the first lesson you need to understand is this. Her pullback isn't always what it looks like. Don't assume it means rejection. More often than not, it's a moment of testing, hesitation, or self-protection. And in those moments, the man who stays grounded, who doesn't get thrown off course, is the man she respects, and the man she wants to come back to. 2. The female mind in the first 48 hours. The first 2 days after a woman pulls back are critical, not for her, but for you. This is the period where most men sabotage themselves. The urge to call, text, double text, or ask, "What's wrong?" becomes overwhelming. And here's the truth. That urge doesn't come from strength. It comes from fear. And women can feel it. In the first 48 hours, a woman is observing, not necessarily consciously, but emotionally. She's paying attention to whether you notice her pullback and, more importantly, how you respond to it. Do you immediately chase? Do you confront her about why she hasn't called? Do you flood her with messages trying to re-establish control? Or do you calmly keep living your life as if your world doesn't revolve around her mood shifts? Here's what most men don't know. Sometimes when a woman pulls back, she actually wants to see if you'll lose your composure. It's not always malicious. Often it's instinctual. She wants to know if your interest in her is rooted in neediness or in choice. Neediness panics when there's space. Choice stays steady. During this window, women feel a mix of curiosity and doubt. Curiosity about whether you'll notice her distance, and doubt about whether you're really the kind of man she should invest in. If she sees you chasing like a man desperate for validation, her doubts grow. If she sees you staying centered, responding calmly when she does reach out, but not over-pursuing when she doesn't, she starts questioning her own pullback. That's when attraction silently rebuilds. Think of it like this. The first 48 hours are a mirror. Whatever energy you project, she reflects back. If you send anxiety, she feels she has the upper hand. If you send calmness, she wonders if she miscalculated by pulling away. And here's where most men get it wrong. They confuse silence with passivity. But silence, when done right, is power. It's not about ignoring her to play games. It's about giving her the room to process her emotions without you smothering her. It's about showing her that your identity doesn't collapse just because she's not as responsive as before. During this period, the smartest thing you can do is focus entirely on yourself. Go to the gym. Dive into your work. Spend time with your friends. Not as a performance for her, but because this is what makes you grounded and attractive in the first place. A woman doesn't want a man whose happiness is dependent on her every move. She wants a man who remains steady no matter what. So, understand this. In the first 48 hours after she pulls back, you are setting the tone for what happens next. If you chase, you lose ground. If you wait in bitterness, you also lose. But if you continue living, confident and unshaken, you silently force her to reassess. And that is where the shift begins in your favor. 3. The danger of overexplaining. One of the biggest mistakes men make when a woman pulls back is overexplaining. You know exactly what I mean. Sending long texts about how you feel, asking her if she's mad, or trying to reassure her with emotional paragraphs. On the surface, you think you're communicating, but in reality, what you're doing is bleeding out your insecurity for her to see. Here's the hard truth. Women don't lose attraction because you're not expressive enough. They lose attraction because you become predictable, needy, and desperate for reassurance. Over-explaining signals all three. It tells her you're uncomfortable with uncertainty, that you can't handle emotional silence, and that you need her validation to calm your own mind. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who can't hold his ground in the unknown. Think about this from her perspective. She pulls back. Maybe because she's stressed, maybe because she's testing you, or maybe because she's genuinely unsure of her feelings. Instead of giving her space to figure it out, you overwhelm her with explanations about how much you care and how confused you are. You're trying to fix something she hasn't even decided is broken. To her, it feels suffocating. Instead of feeling drawn back to you, she feels pushed further away. And here's the kicker. Women rarely tell you this directly. She won't say, You're over-explaining and it's making me lose respect for you. Instead, she'll simply respond less, get colder, or disappear altogether. That's because attraction isn't logical. It's emotional. And over-explaining is the emotional equivalent of begging. It doesn't inspire her to come closer. It convinces her you're not the strong, composed man she was initially attracted to. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore her or shut down emotionally. What I'm saying is that you need to keep your responses short, calm, and confident. If she asks where you stand, you can state it directly in a single sentence. But you don't justify yourself. You don't defend yourself. You don't write an essay about your intentions. A man who knows his value doesn't try to prove it through words. He shows it through composure. This is where Stoicism comes into play. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about mastering your emotions so they don't control you. When you resist the urge to over-explain, you send a powerful message. I'm secure in myself, whether you're here or not. That kind of calm confidence creates space for her to feel curiosity again. She wonders, why isn't he chasing? Why isn't he panicking? Did I misjudge him? And that subtle uncertainty is what reignites attraction. So let this sink in. When a woman pulls back, silence and simplicity are your allies. Over-explaining is weakness disguised as effort. Every word you spill trying to win her back is actually pushing her further away. Real strength lies in letting her wonder, while you stand firm in who you are. 4. Why chasing backfires? When a woman starts pulling away, the natural instinct for most men is to chase. You feel her slipping, so you double down on effort. More texts, more calls, more let's fix this conversations. But here's the reality. Chasing doesn't pull her back in. It pushes her further away. And the harder you chase, the faster she runs. Why? Because attraction isn't built through pursuit. It's built through value. When a man chases, he communicates, without realizing it, that he values her more than himself. He shows he's willing to lose his composure just to keep her close. And from a woman's perspective, that shifts the dynamic completely. She stops seeing you as the strong, grounded man she once respected, and starts seeing you as someone desperate for her approval. This is why you'll often notice that chasing creates silence. You text her paragraphs, and she replies with one-word answers. You suggest plans, and she gives vague excuses. You push harder, and she withdraws more. It's not because she doesn't see your effort. It's because your effort feels like pressure. And no woman wants to be pressured into feeling something she doesn't naturally feel in that moment. Think about it. If she pulled away, it means something in her emotions shifted. Maybe she felt taken for granted. Maybe she wants to test your strength. Maybe her attraction dropped for reasons she doesn't fully understand herself. Whatever the reason, chasing doesn't fix it. Chasing only highlights her doubts. Instead of thinking, I miss him, she thinks, he's too available. He's too invested. I can't feel attraction when he's giving me everything without me earning it. And here's the brutal truth. Chasing is feminine energy. It's the energy of pursuit, of trying to win someone over, of seeking validation. Women are wired to chase masculine energy, not the other way around. When you flip the dynamic and become the one chasing, you kill the polarity that makes her desire you. You remove the mystery, the tension, the excitement, and replace it with predictability. So what should you do instead? You create space. When she pulls back, you don't follow. You hold your position. You keep living your life, staying busy and showing, through your actions, not your words, that your world doesn't collapse because she's uncertain. This doesn't mean you play games. It means you understand that attraction is voluntary. She has to choose to come back. And the only way she chooses is if she feels the risk of losing you. Ironically, the less you chase, the more she notices. She wonders why you didn't react. She wonders why you're not trying harder. And that curiosity can spark something in her. A reminder of your strength, your independence, your value. Suddenly, instead of running away from your energy, she feels pulled back toward it. So remember this: chasing isn't love. Chasing is fear, disguised as effort. And fear never attracts a woman, but composure always does. 5. The power of holding back. If chasing is what destroys attraction, holding back is what restores it. Most men hear this and think it means ignoring a woman, playing cold, or cutting her off completely. But that's not what true holding back is about. It's about discipline. It's about self-control. It's about resisting the urge to do what feels good in the moment, so you can do what actually works long-term. When a woman pulls away, your emotions tell you to react, to fix it immediately, to get reassurance, to make her see that you care. But that reaction is about your comfort, not hers. It's about calming your own anxiety, not respecting her need for space. Holding back is the opposite. It's choosing to feel the discomfort of not reaching out. It's letting the silence stretch without trying to fill it. It's trusting that if she values you, she will come back on her own. Now here's the thing. Holding back creates contrast. When you stop flooding her with attention, she feels the difference. She notices the quiet, and in that quiet, her own emotions have room to breathe. She has time to miss you, time to reflect, time to realize what she felt when you weren't chasing. You're not manipulating her. You're simply giving her space to feel what's real. And this is powerful because women don't want a man who is constantly available. Constant availability feels like dependency. It makes her feel like she can predict every move you'll make. But when you hold back, you remind her that you are not controlled by her actions. You remind her that you're grounded in yourself. You remind her that your world keeps spinning with or without her, and that reawakens her respect. It's also important to understand the psychology behind holding back. Women test men, not because they're evil, but because they want to feel secure. A test isn't always intentional. Sometimes it's subconscious. She wants to know, if I pull away, will he collapse? Will he beg? Will he lose his strength? If you fail that test, she loses trust. But if you pass it, by staying calm, collected, and patient, her attraction rises. Holding back also repositions the balance of power. Right now, she might feel like she has all the control. She's dictating the pace, and you're reacting. But when you stop reacting, you stop feeding that control. Suddenly, she realizes the dynamic isn't one-sided. You're not chasing her approval. She's now faced with the possibility of losing yours. And that shift changes everything. The beauty of holding back is that it's subtle. You're not cutting her off completely. You're not acting out of anger. You're simply not over-investing. You're giving what's appropriate, but you're not giving everything. And that little bit of restraint makes you far more magnetic than flooding her with attention ever could. So here's the bottom line. Women notice when you hold back. They may not say it, but they feel it. And more often than not, it's that pause, that controlled restraint, that makes her realize just how much she actually values you. 6. The moment of regret hits hard. Here's where silence delivers its most unexpected blow. When you stop reaching out, when your absence is no longer filled with explanations, texts, or calls, a woman who once felt she could take you for granted starts to feel something she didn't anticipate. Regret. And regret, in the female mind, is a heavy emotion because it's tied to her pride, her choices, and her fear of missing out on something she might never get again. See, Most women believe they have options. They think they can move on, replace you, or keep you orbiting around while they explore what else is out there. But when you go completely silent, you remove yourself as a safety net. That's when it clicks for her. You were not going to wait forever. And once that realization sets in, regret starts to grow. This regret doesn't show up all at once. At first, she might dismiss you in her mind. He'll be back. But days turn into weeks, and your silence doesn't break. Slowly, she starts to replay old conversations, the good memories, the little things you used to do that made her feel secure, wanted, or desired. Suddenly, the things she overlooked don't seem so small anymore. She starts to wonder if she made a mistake. Here's the deeper truth. Silence forces a woman to reflect in ways your words never could. If you had begged, explained, or argued, she could have justified her decision, told herself you were desperate, or that she was right to walk away. But when you disappear into silence, there's no defense mechanism for her pride. She's left sitting with the possibility that she miscalculated. And that's where regret stings the hardest. This is why men who master silence often get the upper hand. You're no longer chasing, and in that stillness, she starts chasing the memory of you. And once regret enters her heart, it becomes an itch she can't easily scratch. She might start testing the waters again, dropping hints, or even coming back around. But whether you let her in again or not, you have to understand, regret is a sign that silence worked exactly the way it was meant to. So here's what I want you to remember. Silence doesn't just create space, it creates contrast. She feels the weight of what she lost only because you're no longer there filling the gaps. That's the exact moment where she regrets. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. And that's the most powerful play you could ever make. 7. Why silence always wins. At this point, you've seen the stages unfold: confusion, frustration, curiosity, reflection, fear, and regret. But let's step back and look at why silence is so powerful in the first place. Why does it always win when words, explanations, and arguments often fail? The answer is simple. Silence cannot be debated. It cannot be twisted. It cannot be used against you. When you argue with a woman, you hand her ammunition. She can counter your points, downplay your feelings, or spin your words to justify her own behavior. When you beg or explain, she feels validated in her decision because she sees your desperation. But when you say nothing, you give her absolutely nothing to work with, and that nothingness forces her to deal with her own thoughts, her own emotions, her own insecurities. Silence wins because it creates pressure. People don't like unanswered questions. They don't like voids. And women, especially, hate uncertainty when it comes to relationships. Your silence makes her wonder, did he move on? Is he talking to someone else? Did I matter as much as I thought? These questions eat at her because she has no access to the answers. You've closed the door, and she's left knocking with no guarantee you'll even open it again. Here's another truth. Silence shows strength. Most men crumble when a woman pulls away. They blow up her phone, chase, or try to convince her why she should stay. But when you remain calm, collected, and silent, you demonstrate a rare kind of self-control. And that self-control communicates something powerful. You value yourself more than you value her attention. That's attractive on a deep psychological level, even if she doesn't admit it. And finally, silence wins because it shifts the power. In most breakups or conflicts, the woman assumes she has the upper hand. She's the one walking away or pulling back or deciding where things go. But your silence flips that dynamic completely. Suddenly, she's not the one in control anymore. She's left wondering, waiting, and regretting while you remain composed. That shift in power is what makes her see you differently. But let me be clear. Silence only wins if it's backed by genuine strength. If you're silent while secretly obsessing, stalking her social media, or waiting by the phone, you haven't really detached. True silence is paired with self-improvement, working on yourself, focusing on your goals, leveling up in every area of life. That way, if she comes back, she finds a stronger, more grounded man than the one she left behind. And if she doesn't, you've still won because you've elevated your life. So remember this, silence isn't about playing games. It's about choosing yourself, refusing to beg for validation, and letting her feel the consequences of losing you. That's why silence always wins, because it's not just about her, it's about you stepping into your power as a man. Now you understand why silence is the ultimate response when a woman leaves, pulls away, or starts playing with your emotions. It's not about revenge, manipulation, or trying to get her back through games. It's about reclaiming your strength, your self-respect, and your value as a man. When you go silent, you flip the script. Instead of chasing her and showing desperation, you show discipline. Instead of fighting for her attention, you show her that your life is bigger than any one woman. And that shift is what sparks confusion, curiosity, regret, and often her desire to come back. But here's the real lesson. Silence isn't just about her. It's about you. If she comes back, it's not because you begged or convinced her. It's because your silence made her realize what she lost. And if she doesn't come back, then you've still won, because you didn't waste your energy on someone who didn't value you. You kept your dignity intact and leveled up as a man. At the end of the day, silence is powerful because it forces her to feel the weight of her decisions while allowing you to step forward with strength. So the next time a woman pulls away, don't panic, don't chase, and don't explain. Just step back, go silent, and let your absence do the talking. Because in the game of attraction, silence isn't weakness. It's your greatest weapon.